Some places in Skyrim demand your attention. You see them glowing on the compass, quest markers drag you towards them, dialogue pushes you into their history. And then there are others, the ones that just kind of exist. You pass by them without knowing, maybe a dozen times, or maybe more. They're tucked between riverbanks, cliffs, or collapsed roads, places so natural you think they're just empty. And then one day, you take the wrong path along the White River, southeast of Windhelm, and you hear it, a waterfall. You step behind the edge of it, expecting a cave or maybe just a dead-end pool. But instead, you find a door which leads to the abandoned prison. And after 13 years, I still think about what I found inside. The abandoned prison has no quests tied to it. No event sends you here, no bounty board, and no courier note. In fact, until the Anniversary Edition added a brief fishing creation and alternative start functionality, there was literally nothing pulling the player here. But it's fully modelled, fully voiced, and fully abandoned. Somewhat. Cells, skeletons, a crumbling hallway system, a mess hall, quad quarters, all the things you'd expect from an official prison facility. But no name, no official history, and no memory. It feels like it was just turned off. As if the Empire simply forgot about it, or chose to. As soon as you enter, you noticed what caused the ruin. Water. Torrents of it, pouring through cracked ceilings and corroded stone. The White River flows into the prison, breaking the walls, pooling at your feet, and cutting off some corridors entirely. This was not an attack. It was time. And the prison didn't die in flames, it drowned. Furniture floats, cell doors hang from broken hinges. There are signs of a hasty evacuation, but not a complete one. Because bodies still remain, and they're not all in their cells. Most dungeons in Skyrim follow a clear path. You find enemies, you fight through it, and then you loot. The abandoned prison follows something more subtle, and much more disturbing. The guards are still here, skeletons in full Imperial armour, sprawled near collapsed beams, one even hanging off a stairway, with its sword still drawn. Some tried to escape, but some didn't make it. There are signs of conflict but not war, and just desperation. Something happened here, something fast, maybe a collapse, maybe the flood, and the Empire. They didn't clean it up, they left it. Or perhaps they were never allowed back in. In the lower section of the prison, if you look carefully, you'll find two documents. A guard's note describing rising water levels and damaged infrastructure, and a prisoner's journal smuggled out through a crack in the wall, detailing the last days of incarceration. The guard is worried, but focused, and the prisoner is terrified. They describe guards abandoning posts, confusion in the halls, water seeping into the bunks, and then silence. There's no record of an evacuation order, no mention of outside reinforcements, just fear and then stillness. As if the prison sealed itself off, and as if the world moved on without it. Unlike places like the Chill, the abandoned prison doesn't have a defined cultural or political role. Not Dunmer, not Daedric, and not Stormcloak. There's no shrine, no racial banners, no inscriptions. Which raises a question. Who really built this? Some speculate it was a pre-Empire military site, a temporary holding facility. Others think it was Nordic, later co-opted by Imperial forces. The most compelling theory, however, is it was a secret Imperial site, never intended for the public, and used for prisoners the Empire didn't want associated with major cities, political dissidents, war deserters, witch hunts, and once it became unstable, it was sealed and forgotten by design. The level design here is simple, but haunting. You start at the top, collapsed halls, collapsed roof, half-buried furniture. You move down into cells, low chambers, bunk beds, and broken kitchens. And then you end up in the lowest area, where water runs the deepest, facing a room that looks like it was never meant to be escaped from. Iron doors, no windows, no light. And you realise this wasn't just a holding facility, was it? It was a final stop. Some of these prisoners were never meant to be transferred. They were meant to disappear. The abandoned prison sits at a strange fork in the White River, between Mixwater Mill and Valheim Towers. You can walk past the waterfall a dozen times and never notice the door tucked behind the mist. There's no obvious path, no combat outside, and no glowing loot. Just rock, water, and the faint splash of stone. And if you never poke behind the falls, you never find it, which makes it feel more like a secret than a dungeon, and more like a memory than a location. You expect the abandoned prison to be somewhat empty, a ruin, a forgotten pile of flooded stone and rusted bars. And for a moment it is. But then the air kind of changes as you move deeper into the dungeon. A chill creeps in, deeper than the cold of the White River's spray. And as you step deeper into the lower levels, where water laps at your ankles and the torchlight flickers against the mildew-slick walls, you see them. The ghosts of the abandoned prison. Flickering, semi-transparent forms. Their faces long gone, their bodies faded into grey mist. But their rage is very real. These aren't spirits drifting in mourning. They attack, silently, swiftly, with old iron weapons that should have rusted into the dust long ago. They moan in bursts of grief or fury, and when they vanish, they don't fall, they disperse. As if they've finally realised it's too late, that they're no longer alive. This kind of place is a place where lore enthusiasts love to break down. It's a ruin with no direct quest, documents you can miss, skeletons telling half the story, and environmental design that reveals secreted silence. The kind of location where every object matters. A knocked over chair, a cell that was locked but broken open, a table set with untouched food. It's more than storytelling, it's ghostwriting, and Bethesda left the pen right where you can find it, if you're paying attention. 13 years later, after my first playthrough of Skyrim, I still think about that waterfall, how quiet it was, how strange the prison felt inside, complete, deliberate, and utterly unspoken for. You can walk away from it, loot it, use it as a home base, or never return. But something about that space sticks with you. A jail where no one survived, a facility no one remembers. And a story that was buried not by war, but by water, time, and the game's refusal to explain itself. Some places in Skyrim want you to be a hero, but this one kind of just wants you to listen.